Okay, everybody, this is the Wharf District Council. And here we are on October 21st, 2025. I'm Mark Margulies. Suzanne McCoy is here as our executive director, as always, and we have a group of people in the room and online, and with an update from our folks from Day One from the Boston Police Department, but yeah.
They did not say they were coming.
Oh, Captain Driscoll's here. And right, and several others are online. So who is going to be giving us our update?
I got it, Michael Mustachio from the A1 CSO office.
Excellent, thank you.
Alrighty, see every. Sergeant Sean Wallace is on here as well.
Good.
Just a couple things to follow up from the last meeting. I know somebody mentioned having some trouble with the the bike lanes and the buses at Ave and Commercial Street. So I did, since the last meeting, I did 15 code 9 teams over there. I usually try to do them in the morning when the traffic's a little bit heavier. That's where we just go and try to be a presence and talk to some people. So the issue with that, I think that I saw was some of the buses were not just dropping people off. They were like parking there and waiting throughout the day. And then the other buses would come and double park. So I tried to speak to them and got most of them to stop doing it. That could be something if it continues to be a problem. Maybe we can ask BTD to put the signs and make them say that they can't park there. That's just a drop off. Then another thing is I know I talked about the, I had that picture of you guys for the person that was wanted for stealing some cars in the area. They were able to identify the person. Before the person was identified, they put out a be on the lookout for. Officers attempted to stop that car that I showed you guys in the picture, and the car took off and dragged one of the officers with it. They were eventually able to identify the person. The person was also doing similar things in New York City, Quincy, and Sturbridge. Helped identifying the person. The person was involved in this incident at 280 Congress Street, the Boston Common Garage, the garage at 1 Seaport, and 120 High Street, and is currently wanted on warrants for multiple motor vehicle larcenies, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon from hitting the officer, reckless operation of a motor vehicle, fleeing the scene of an accident with injuries, multiple larcenies from buildings, and multiple attached plate violations. So hopefully we'll catch that person soon. Then the last thing is we have the community ComStat. I know I discussed that last month. That's going to be tomorrow night. It's at 6:30 at the Nazaro Community Center. It's 30 North Bennett Street. And there'll be some members of the command staff there as well to answer whatever questions you guys might have. We did one in Charlestown last month. It worked out really well. So looking forward to getting some feedback. And then I got a couple of reports for you guys also. The first one is at about 3:40 p.m. on October 11, 2025. Officers responded to a property damage report at 75 State Street. Somebody had thrown something through the window of an office and went in and stole a computer monitor that they mentioned was worth $500. By the time the officer got there, they had already repaired the window with wood. The officer was able to find a golf ball that he believed was used to break the window. We have a picture of the suspect, so detectives are investigating that one now. Just so people are aware, though, in the future, it makes it a lot better for the detectives if something like this, if they call right when they know what happened, rather than cleaning up and boarding up the windows and everything. It just helps them out a little bit. Then, so I got another one. It's October 9th, about 2:40 p.m. Officers responded to a person with a knife at 710 Atlantic Ave. So the suspect appeared to be either under the influence or maybe some mental illness. Randomly pulled out a knife on someone, started showing what they described as gang signs, and called the victim the white devil, threatened them with a knife. Officers were able to get there quick enough to catch the person. The person did fight with the officers a little bit, but they were arrested. They also had 3 warrants, so 2 misdemeanors and 1 felony. That was 710 Atlantic Ave. And the last one, we got September 21st, officers responded to radio call for assault and battery at 1 Faneuil Hall Marketplace. In this instance, the suspect was described as a homeless female, mid-50s, medium build. She had stolen the tip jar and assaulted the person who was working at the cart, and the person who was working was 3 months pregnant. This was caught on camera. So detectives sent out some pictures, and numerous officers responded knowing who the person in the email was. So she's already been charged and arrested for larceny under 1200 and assault and battery on a pregnant person, which is a felony. That's all I have for now. I'm happy to see that the car break-ins seem to have gone down a lot. But if you guys have any questions or anything, that's it for me.
Very much.
I have a question. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
At night, it seems as though the traffic coming in our area, particularly on Service Road, is so bad that last week I went from Harbor Towers to Nealon Street where the Greenway offices are. It took me an hour. I left at 4:30. I didn't get there till 5:30. People were blocking the box, which meant nobody could move. And I can understand their frustration because you wait, and then you don't move. And finally, there's an opening and the light's gonna turn and you take that, and now nobody moves. Is there any that you all can do to help? Because it probably seems like it's going to get worse.
Yeah, definitely traffic's one of the bigger complaints we have. I know you said it was Surface Road. Do you have like a specific area to try to pay some special attention to it?
Yes, yeah, it's really South Station to all the way to Columbus Park. Yes.
Yeah.
Or the other direction coming.
Oh, yeah, both.
Coming off the O'Neill Tunnel and up all the way to the Mass Pike.
Yeah.
The O'Neill Tunnel is clearly a problem because cars try to go in and they can't move. So now they're just sitting, walking Atlantic Ave or Circus Artery, waiting to get into the tunnel.
Okay.
The other part, just to
Mhm.
the construction going on at, what is that, 270? At the Griffin Wharf. 410? Yeah, the construction that's going on Atlantic Avenue and Congress Street Bridge. They've got so much of it blocked off. Then they bring in a crane.
Yes.
And they block off another. There's got to be some limit to the amount of roadway that they can occupy, isn't there?
Yeah. I actually got stuck in that one recently. They get the permits, and then when we get a complaint, we go out there and check them. But if they're getting the permits, unless there's something that's like unsafe, that we wouldn't be able to shut them down just for traffic if they have a permit.
They shouldn't be able to they already have 1 lane taken. They shouldn't be able to get, and they just park their vehicles there. And, they just Now, there are vehicles that are parked there 24/7. It's just they've made it into a parking lot. They shouldn't be able to get a permit, an ongoing permit for 2 lanes on Atlantic Avenue.
Right.
It's just not right. I don't know who gives those permits. Who gives them?
We can look into that. They get we don't give them out. They get them from City Hall, but we can definitely look into that for you. That one, the construction usually starts on the later end, if I'm correct, right?
That's right.
It's at night.
No, it's during the day too.
Yeah,
Now, this is the main phone building.
yeah,
On
exactly.
Independence Four.
Yeah,
And I know that the folks at the Intercontinental can attest to this. They just totally ignore anything that anybody says because they waive these permits.
yeah. So we would like to request whomever is responsible for giving those permits, that they be restricted to a lane. Not taking up Atlantic Avenue. We have a bad enough traffic problem as it is.
So the people who give them out are pretty good with going down there and checking on them. So I'll definitely speak to them and tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we'll go down and check that out as well. We'll definitely go down and we'll check the permits and we'll look into the traffic situation down there. Absolutely.
Michael, what department is it that issues that permit?
I believe it's the transportation department.
I kind of had a
Not for
feeling.
sure, but
Thank
I
you.
also think it would be the transportation department, but I can check
Great.
and then follow up on it with Gloria.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
It's Tim in the transportation department.
Speak up.
It's Tim in the transportation.
Yeah.
Tim Levine.
Thanks, Tito.
It's
Tim in the transportation.
Always still there. So I haven't been there for a while, so.
The address.
Great, thanks.
Now,
Other questions?
Independence Four. I think it's 110 or so.
Great,
I can't
all right.
figure it out.
Well, thank you very much for the update and,
Just
oh,
that,
yeah, go ahead.
it is only going to get worse with the holiday season approaching.
Yeah.
It's just, it's unmanageable.
Not to mention snow.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
We-
we'll go down and check it. Absolutely. We'll go down and we'll check the permit. We'll talk to transportation. We'll also check out the traffic flow as well. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You got it. Absolutely.
Okay, so there's a rumor that Chris Osgood is going to join us.
He's coming from another meeting,
Right.
so we may have to
Right.
let someone go ahead.
So what I would like to do, if this is okay with all of you, is I would like to share with you some work that has been going on in the climate resilience arena. This. So, can you all see that more or less? Joanne, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you make it full screen, Mark?
Well, it is for here, so let me just go back to. That.
You good?
Is that full screen for you?
You can see everything around it, but if that's it, that's fine.
How's that?
You got it.
Is that it? Is that good?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Okay, so, I got a call from, one of the reporters at the Boston Globe who said, you know, obviously complimented us on work that we have been doing about trying to craft a plan that takes into account, all of the technical aspects of creating an inclusive and resilient and equitable waterfront, but wanted to know some things about the economic impacts that we face in the event of flooding. And so we engaged the folks from ARA to do an economic analysis. And this has just been posted on our website and on the final resilience. So if you want to look at it there, you can, but I'll just go through, because I think this is some interesting things for us and we all have in our quiver of as we think about how to talk about why people outside of our community should care. It's really the point. Okay, so by the 2050s and 70s, I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but the basic idea is a major coastal flood is going to impact our area with up to $14 billion in economic losses and 17,000 jobs being impacted. This is important because in our analysis, we talk about what it's going to cost to replace what has been flooded. That's the $3.9 billion that you've all seen in the study. But the question is, what is the broader impact of jobs lost and economic recovery, and we're talking $14 billion. That doesn't take into account the intangible part, which is the decreased consumer spending across all of these other industries that are so important to our district. Apparently, they did the analysis and it says 1 out of 7 residents in the city will be impacted by a flood of that magnitude, displacing over 9,000 people, and we only have shelter capacity for 1,000. So we're talking about major humanitarian problems on the scale of, Katrina or something like that. 11,500 children will be negatively impacted by the flooding, not just when it happens, but schools and trying to get back into school and so forth. 1 in 3 MBTA stations are still at risk of flooding, and all that means relative to our transportation and emergency services, so forth. 5% of Boston's land would be flooded in an event of that magnitude. So we think about, we've got Beacon Hill, so Beacon Hill doesn't go all the way up Beacon Hill, but there's a really lot of low land along the 47 miles of waterfront. And that's being exposed to flooding from average monthly high tides. That's not made for major storms, that's on a regular basis. The transportation related structures, fire, EMS, police stations, hospitals are expected to have $1.3 billion in property value exposed to monthly high tide events. So we know, for example, that Harbor Towers is going through a process right now where they're spending $20 million protecting their building, just the building, not the community. We're talking about having to spend, if we don't do what we're talking, creating the kind of resilient harbor walk that we're talking about having to put $1.3 billion individually into these other properties. And then in the bigger picture, the Boston, Cambridge, and Newton area generates $610 billion. And it's one of the most economically productive regions in the nation, with $12 billion in tourism in the area. These are all going to be negatively impacted by the impacts of climate change and the rising ocean levels. Our district services 70% of the state's population one way or the other, whether it's because they work here or they their transportation goes through here. Our area supports 84% of the Massachusetts GDP. You're talking about, Cambridge and Boston. So, why is it that people outside this area should care? Because if this area gets destroyed, so goes the rest of the state. These are interesting facts, I think, that are important to share. People in Worcester may not realize how important it is. They have their own problems, but this will matter to them. In our district alone, annualized losses are currently projected by 2030, if we don't do things, annual losses. $28 million. That's just what's sitting here, what we're gonna have to repair if we don't deal with this. And across the city of Boston, annualized flood-related damages could surpass $137 million. So the urgency is, this is by 2030. And if you think about what the Army Corps of Engineers plan is, if all goes well, 2028, they go to Congress, they hopefully get funding by 2030. They start construction in 2034 with completion slated, if all goes perfectly, by 2040. We will already be incurring, Boston will already be incurring $137 million in damages every year from 2030 to 2040. So these are significant numbers. Then there's this whole business about what will be the impact on Boston's historic fabric. And one of the things that our good friend Derek Anderson has explained from an engineering point of view is that if we do not keep the water out of these historic districts, the liquefaction of the soils from the rain and the ocean getting into it. You know what happens when you pour water over a sandcastle, right? That can happen around the foundations of our historic buildings. And we see this happening in places like Charleston and New Orleans and other historic cities. This is something we have to get ahead of. You can't go back and replace Faneuil Hall. You can't go back and replace Custom House Tower. These are things that we really need to protect. So I think it's important to have these facts at our fingertips. They're on our website. The more I talk to people around the city and the other people involved in this around the country, the more I realize how far ahead of the game we are, unfortunately, relative to most other communities. So we have to recognize the fact that we have developed a model, it's public-private partnership that we've created that is replicable elsewhere around the city and around the nation. And we've created this handbook for other communities to be able to use. If we think about the fact that 80% of the world's population lives along the coastline, and there are so many places that are not yet seriously working on this, and knowing how long it's going to take even us who are ahead of the game to be able to be ready for protecting ourselves. This is a challenge we're all going to face, and we need to continue to lead it and to share what we've learned with other folks around the country and the world. So this plan that we have is a great one. I had the privilege with Derek of walking and folks from the city touring the folks last week from the Army Corps of Engineers around our district. The couple weeks before that, John Larrabee from one of our officers joined them as they toured around the north end, with Derek also. But we were able to share with them our ideas and the important consensus that we have built of all the stakeholders along the waterfront. They were the engineers, they were the people who were gonna be responsible for this, and they asked some great questions. And of course, Derek had these great answers. They wanted to know, how are we gonna underpin this, or, what's the status of that seawall, and hold out a drawing that showed exactly what they, what we've come up with. And so it was a really productive conversation, I think. Their plan is to come back to us with what they call their planned alignment. I have seen what they have produced so far for South Boston, East Boston, and Charlestown. And it is it's basically a line, called alignment. It's a line. And so I encourage them to ideally when they come back to us, come back with more than just a line, because we've done a lot more than just create a line. And take what we've done, think about it, and evolve it into a plan. So our expectation is that they will come back in November at some point and share with us their thoughts, and that will be that'll be a larger meeting. And that's one that really everyone needs to attend and speak up about. I don't know to what extent we'll have a preview of that. But one way or the other, it's really important that we show up as a community and speak to our collective involvement going forward. Any questions on this information that I just shared? Like I say, it's on the website. I can maybe show you where it is. But I'm sure you can all find it. Any thoughts or questions about that? Okay.
I think you'll find the website very user friendly. It's easy to maneuver and find things.
Yeah, I'll just I will show you all where that is, just so you can find it for those. One of the other things Matthew reminds me is that we really do want to we want to encourage people to engage on our social media site. We're on can you all see this? The website here? Yeah. Climate resilience. This has all sorts of stuff. Let's see, stay informed is one way to get a variety of things that are useful for anybody who wants to talk about, to know what we've been at. And if you want to sign up for our newsletter, if you're not already, that's the way to do that. But the climate resilience section has all sorts of, this is the link to all of the videos, and also this thing right here, investing in a resilient wharf district. This is the document that I just talked to. There's a flood hazard map that's a really great way of of understanding what their vulnerability is. And then this sea level rise thing, which it is astonishing. You can click on an area and see what happens when the water rises by a certain amount. And it's really an astonishing thing. We're scheduled, that's a 6 feet rise, and you can see how inundated that whole area is. So if you ever want to try to understand where you are and what we need to be concerned about, this is a great tool. All right, I'm going to stop with that. If Chris Osgood joins us, he
Oh,
will.
not yet.
If and when, but otherwise we have Frank Baker here, who is running for councilor at large. And Frank,
Hi.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Please come right up here.
Frank Baker is a former city councilor and district city councilor. How many times, Frank?
Six terms,
times.
12 years.
12 years, and now he's running for councilor at large. As you know, we have had different candidates come to our council meetings, and we're so glad Frank is able to join us today.
Well, thank you for the invite, and thank you for your work. I'm not sure what your name is, but very important work. I live in Dorchester, a community that's along the ocean, Marcy Boulevard. We constant discussions in most communities in Boston about exactly that, and it's good to see that people, I mean, this is the most complex, I would think, by far.
Yeah.
But good to see work being done and people thinking about it. You said it right, without us, different communities working on it, but nothing would happen. So I would be supportive of your efforts first off, right off the bat, because I'm familiar with it. I sit on the Marcy Boulevard Commission, which deals with basically the same thing in Dorchester. Yes, I'm a former district city councilor. I see my former colleague back there, Tito Jackson. We served together in a good time, I believe. 12 years I did on the council, and I prided myself on basically paying attention to my constituents, showing up for the job, returning calls, things like that. That's a baseline of the city council. If people are running for offices and they say they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that, and they're gonna do this, if they're not showing up and they're not returning the calls and returning the emails, then they're not doing their job. I believe that's a baseline. I was on the council for 12 years. I started under Menino. I left in Shawoo's first 2 years of her term. COVID was difficult. I mean, I left because I had gotten sick during COVID. I had long-term COVID, and I couldn't show up for the job. I mean, I could have showed up for the job. I had a district that I pretty much had locked down. It could have continued to be elected in that district, but I believe in representing people, and I didn't want to half represent the people of Dorchester and Lower Roxbury in the south end. So I left for 2 years to get healthy. I believe I'm healthy now. I'm very healthy. My head is in a good spot, and the rest of me is a good spot. And I'm ready to take on the challenge. I'm ready to go in and work collaboratively with people. I think what happened during that time of COVID, the shutdown, and all that turmoil that we went through, there was a difficult time, and actually people convening and having real conversations about city issues and city problems, and I think that we're almost back there, but I think that there needs to be, I think I can play a leadership role there. I think I can convene people. I am a collaborator, have always been a collaborator, and that wasn't necessarily the case in my last term. It was a very contentious in there, but I believe in the city. I believe in where we live. Like you talked about the historic places, that means a lot to me. The democracy in the United States started here in Boston, and I do think that Boston is the crown jewel of the United States. Here, that liberal democracy, that ability to sit across the table and talk and work things out. I believe that if we can get that right here in Boston, and I wanna be part of that, that might leak all the way up. I could be viewing life through rosy glasses, but I tend to think that politics starts locally. Just like Tip O'Neill said, it starts locally and gets pushed up, and I'm prepared to play that leadership role and collaborate with people in all neighborhoods. The difference between a district city council and an at-large city council is, in a district, you represent approximately 75,000 people. And you're laser focused on what's happening just in that district, so you're drawn into, for lack of a better term, neighborhood fights or turmoil, or, you know, here's a building going here, you're with us or you're against us. What I look forward to in the at-large scene is that ability to go into neighborhoods, different places that have positive things that are happening, and insert my voice in a positive way. Of course, if there are contentious issues that I need to be involved in, I'm not afraid of doing that. You know, like what Hyde Park wants a health center. East Boston's looking for some food security things, a network of food security to happen. You know, every place is looking for more youth programming and senior programming. A lot of different neighborhoods are looking for standalone senior programming, senior centers. And I'd like to be involved in that. In my district, I was the driving force on a lot of change. We got new libraries, new parks. I was part of the Martin Richards Field House, the driving force on that. I helped to form the New Market bid, which Massacas was one of my thorns in my side, but I came up with some pretty practical solutions down there. The New Market bid was one of them, so the bid like the downtown bid. And when I convened the business network, they were like, well, why would we want to bid? It doesn't seem to fit. But in researching bids, I said, you can basically mold the bid the way you want. It's a way to get city type services without the city bureaucracy. So in Newmarket, we got better transportation plans. We merged different transportation plans between the mall that's there and BMC and got a bigger transportation plan. A lot of the people that you see on the street that are helping to clean up with the yellow vest on, they're former people that were in the tents down there and are now working in sort of a job training role. Those first jobs that you'll get when you first get healthy, that's all happening. Those things are happening with the bid. And there's multiple other things, there's camera plans and there's security plans, and it basically is a way to help the city try to, as best we can, speak to some of the issues that are happening down there. And those are just some of the things that I've been involved in. Job training is very important to me. I would like to try to, we have a plan for 700 million for Madison Park, which I would absolutely be supportive of, because, you know, AIs come every train. We need to train our young people, especially from underserved neighborhoods, for the future. Green future, blue future, whatever it is. And I've been around the country and around in different places in Europe looking at different economies, whether it's blue economy in Ireland and green economies in different places in the United States. So I think there's opportunities to do that, but also not just Madison Park. I think there's an opportunity for a much lower dollar amount to start bringing trades like plumbing, carpentry, electrical into the high schools, one trade at a time. So when I was growing up, I'm a child of the 80s. I graduated from high school in 1986. Before that, we would have different high schools had different shops. So Charlestown High was the electrical shop, Southie High was sheet metal, Brighton was plumbing. $4 to $5 million per, we could set up job training or particular shops in high schools. That would do a couple things for us. That would increase the interest for our high schools. It would prepare our kids for the future, and it would also help us, people that need younger people working and contributing to our economy. So those are just some of the ideas I have, and of course, recovery is very important to me. When I say recovery and point to Massacas, it's not just Massacas, it's a more comprehensive recovery plan, because the mass and cast issue is now around the entire city. And it's as much mental health as it is about addiction and recovery, so there's a whole lot of moving pieces to that. I have some ideas, you know, recovery campuses we talk about, which I believe in. I was one of the first people talking about that, recovery campuses and things to that like, but I don't wanna bore you guys. I'd like to, and I also have to get over to a candidates night in Boston, right? And I was at a candidates night till 11 o'clock last night. It was quite a active one, but it was fun. So if anybody has any questions for me, common sense, independence, I'm gonna look, you know, at our budgets and make sure we're spending our money wisely. I'm gonna, you know, try and have discussions about the taxes, the way that they're just going through the roof. We constantly talk about the rising cost of living in Boston. It starts with city budgets. So if our budgets are going through the roof, everything else is gonna cascade like that and gonna become more expensive. So I think we need to have real conversations around those budgets and how we're spending our money, in a very sort of, collegial way. So if people have questions for me, I'd love to answer some of them. I have experience, I have 37 years of experience in the city. I did 12 years in the city council, 25 in different departments. So I know budgets, I know city operations, I have relations throughout the entire city in the state house, so I won't need any job training in this. I'll be able to know what the job is on day one and be able to respond to issues that are happening in the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Frank. I see that Joanne has a question. Joanne?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Baker, for joining us tonight. I have a question about the Boston Trust Act and your position on it. It was became law in 2014, I believe, and it prevents the Boston police and any police authority from arresting a person basically based on what they look like. And by that, I mean the immigrants. So people.
I was in favor of the Trust Act. I voted twice for the Trust Act. I have to push back a little bit. It did not preclude us from working with the feds. I think now with the messages, we're not going to work with the feds. My position is somewhat of a minutia position. I believe we have the BRIC, which is Boston Regional Intelligence, and I think that if we had at a minimum a liaison with BRIC, and I'm not talking police arresting anybody, but the intelligence behind who the bad people are, because I don't think that anybody wants bad actors, whether if they're not from here or whether if they are from here. I think that if we liaison with BRIC, we would have a much smoother operation, because Boston Police, I believe, knows the city much more than any federal official that's gonna come in. So if they're looking for 5 people and they have a liaison or a discussion with BRIC and say, these are the 5 people that we're looking for, how would you like us, meaning the feds, to go about apprehending these people? So I don't think that the original Trust Act precluded us from even talking to the feds, and BRIC came to fruition because of the problems that happened and what we realized how law enforcement was operating in silos after 9/11. The feds didn't know what the states were doing, the states didn't know what the locals were doing, and that's why the people that did harm to us in 9/11 were able to do that harm. And that doesn't mean I'm advocating for Boston police to be on raids, but I do believe there's an opportunity for discussions.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I certainly would agree with you that if they have a list of people who they know are criminals or potential, they have a reason to want to arrest them, that it would be great if the Boston City Police could work with them. But what I'm talking about is the wholesale picking up of people because of what they look like.
Well, I think that if we were the gatekeepers, if you're coming into our city, like Chris, if you're coming into our city and Boston is running the show, the officials that we have here, the Boston BRIC, and direct them where to go, then if they're working for a cowboy, the cowboy's gonna wanna throw that lasso out there and get every person within that lasso in there and pull them all in. I mean, my family is in construction, we, and we have a convenience store where we, hire a lot of immigrants. And sometimes your crews aren't showing up merely on the fact that they know one guy in the crew is a bad actor, so nobody shows up, because the other people that are here that are paying taxes and are paying, into the system, they know that potentially that they may get caught up in a sting. I think that if we had a liaison and we dealt with the feds, I think that we could stem that type of behavior. Those are my opinions, and when I first voted for the Trust Act, basically it was, and I know a lot of Boston police, and I know that your rank and file patrolman, the last thing that they wanna do is start going into vehicles and asking people what their immigration status is. It's not what we wanna do, it's a waste of our resources, and the guys on the street don't wanna do that. But the people in the brick are set up to be able to know and understand who the bad actors are on all levels.
Well, that doesn't stop them from rounding up people, but thank you very much.
Yeah.
Other questions for Mr. Baker?
Oh, somebody has to have a question.
Have you thought at all about your position on, I know there was a news story a while ago about Waymo and like autonomous vehicles operating in the city. And this is an opportunity technologically to potentially improve traffic flow, lower cost of transportation. But then it also comes with the conflict of 15 jobs and people.
Yeah,
I wonder if you had
I've actually thought a lot about it, because I was on the front end when, in my opinion, we destroyed the taxi industry. And the taxi industry was somewhat their own worst enemy, their behaviors. Now we have no competition with Uber and Lyft. All behaviors happen, just if we walked outside, there's probably 3 vehicles double parked there in the middle of traffic. I think at a minimum, I think the autonomous vehicle scares me, and all that discussion around Uber and Lyft and up the state house and the way they're trying to, first, the drivers are looking to unionize. Uber and Lyft doesn't want them to unionize. I think ultimately Uber and Lyft are looking to get rid of all those drivers and just own all just vehicles. Because now you have a business where you have no
labor costs.
Yeah, no labor costs. I'd be very, very, is it an opportunity? Yes, but at what cost? You said, at a minimum, I would wanna see every one of those vehicles, and I said this when I was on the city council, when we were talking about the taxis. I think that every Uber and Lyft should at a minimum be a livery plate, so we know it's not just someone's vehicle that you jumped in today, it's your brother-in-law's vehicle, we don't know who's driving it. I think at a minimum, like those cars should have some sort of designation, we should be in the city charging them. And I don't necessarily trust that a driverless vehicle is gonna do better than someone that is actually has eyes and ears and, a human brain, so I'm somewhat skeptical of it. I would want to really have an upfront charge on every vehicle that was there, because I do believe that a lot of the traffic that we have is Uber and Lyft just circling the city, just coming downtown and just circling. So, and again, I was a big proponent of the taxi drivers. We put thousands of small business people out of work when we let Uber and Lyft just come in here and wipe them out. Flip side of that is, when I was growing up, we were talking about our young people drinking and driving all the time. They don't do that anymore, so with anything that's technologically driven, wow, that's really good, but you've got to weigh it and see how we balance it into our lives. Yeah, that was a good question, thank you. No more questions?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so November 4th, I'm number 8 on the ballot. Again, common sense, independence, balance, those sorts of things is what I want to bring to the city council, and I'll return your calls. And all of your calls, thank you. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna get right on the road. I have,
Well, You can get on the road, I hope you can.
Yeah, yeah, well, I had to get through Austin Writing, so that was taking all around.
You're so funny.
Chris, you wanna, sort them up here and,
This is Cedar.
give us a little, update on.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Chris asked me to great pleasure of meeting the mayor's office. Mark, have you talked about all the report?
Why don't you go ahead? I just mentioned the fact that we had walked around, Chris, and I shared a, the economic analysis that, Eric did for us. I don't know if I've shared that with you yet, but I will send it to you so that you can, other than that, please, I'd rather you talk than me.
So I'll be sort of brief, but happy to take as many questions, and certainly this is an ongoing conversation, because of the great leadership of the Wharf District around this work, and thinking about how we not only build something to protect this neighborhood, but also to make sure that as we do that, we're enhancing this neighborhood that so many folks live, love, and call home. So a lot of the work that is coming up is about some of the long-term projects to address long-term flood risk in our area. And the city, as you may know, has 3 sets of strategies that we are advancing, all focused on coastal flood risk, happening at the same time, but a set of different time horizons. I think you've heard from Carlone Owens, from our Office of Emergency Management, who's focused very much on sort of near-term preparedness and response. What happens if a major storm were to hit the city of Boston in the coming months, so to speak, months or of course this next year. There's a lot of work in the city's budget, a lot of work on the go, focused on some nearer-term capital projects. There's about $150 million that is allocated to projects that have a coastal resilience component, including a project at Long Wharf that is designed to help address some of the near-term flood risk there, a place that obviously all of us are quite familiar with what's happening at regular intervals in that location. And I should note on Long Wharf, there will be a draft report released by the end of this month, is our expectation, as being a project led by the planning department. I would love to get your feedback on the designs for Long Wharf, both from a resilience perspective and a public realm perspective. And so, and set up any follow-up conversations.
Is that multiple options or are we
Multiple
narrowing?
options. So there'll be a range of different sort of pieces. Rich and others, and Ben and others are much closer to that process, but my expectation is there'll be some short and long-term options for consideration. And I imagine many of you have been part of the conversations leading up to this, and to Mark's point, familiar with the variety of options that have been considered. One thing though that I wanted to flag, which connects with the walk that we did with Mark and engineers from the U.S. Army Corps, as well as some other members of the Wharf District on October 10th, is the upcoming engagement with the Army Corps. The Army Corps of Engineers is engaged in a 6-year study with the city of Boston. It is called a Coastal Storm Risk Management Study. It is through this study that they work with municipalities, among others, to design projects that really address long-term flood risk. We are through the first 3 years of this study. The first 3 years was largely the Army Corps trying to identify where are the places, what happens if no projects are built? What is the cost of doing nothing? What is the federal interest in being able to invest in our city? They're largely through that work. And the next 3 years, between now and the spring of 2028, is about the Army Corps essentially defining what's the suite of projects that they think should be built in Boston with collaboration from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. In the spring of 2028, a report gets submitted to Congress with those recommended projects. And it's those projects in that report that then become eligible for 65% federal funding for at least the resilience components going forward. So it's a really important way for us to be able to think about federal investment in this work. Between now and the spring of 2028 is when there's a lot of engagement of all of you and folks all across our 47 miles of coastline to make sure that what we're designing is feasible to build, is effective in the face of increasing flood risk, and works for the neighborhood. And so this coming December, there will be a community meeting that we'll be hosting with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. At this meeting, they're largely going to be talking about the process, what will the next 3 years look like, and the alignments. What are the locations they're looking to potentially include as a project in that plan for spring of 2028. Knowing that a huge amount of work has been done by all of you with the Wharf District Council plan, There's already been a fair amount of coordination, including the site walk earlier in October. But I do want to underscore that it's very, very useful in this process for folks to be at that meeting in December. There are office hours with the Army Corps engineers afterwards. They are really very interested in the actual specifics of what they are proposing and what all of you have in mind, including what's in the Wharf District plan. So I do encourage you to join that meeting, to use any of the other sort of venues that we are going to create, like the office hours, to sort of weigh in, provide your feedback, because that'll really help shape the design going forward. Mark, yeah, please send.
Is this particular meeting focusing on the Wharf
Thank you.
District or the whole?
Great question. So we've had, the Corps is looking at sort of 5 neighborhood areas. And so they've had a community meeting on Charlestown, had a community meeting on East Boston, on Dorchester and South Boston. This is very specific to the Wharf District in the North End. Great question, sorry. Thank you.
And are they seeing those
Yes.
5 districts as being one application for funding?
Correct. So it is one package for what is called the Chiefs Report. That is the name of the report that sort of goes in the spring of 2028. It is unlikely though that it would be all funded all at once. So it is within that there may be a range of projects that could get funded over a series of different federal investments. Most of the, sorry, this is deep in the weeds, but most of the investments come through something called the Water Resources Development Act. And so there likely be funding in each of those to advance a set of projects going forward. And to Mark's point, and Mark has, I think, raised this in the Charlestown meeting, if I'm not mistaken, just to set expectations. That report goes in 2028, but then project funding comes in these WRDAs, so the Water Resource Development Acts that follow. So it may be that projects are not fully designed until some point in the 2030s, or broken ground until some point in that decade or beyond, which is why, as we do this long-term work with the Army Corps, we're also very focused on projects like Long Wharf, which are about more of the immediate risk.
I guess there's an associated part of the question that I was trying to understand, which is, are we in this together with these other 5, or are we competing against each other?
In it together. So
Great.
it is all part of one. Submission is also very much in their view, I think, one part of one system. That there's a set of things you have a set of tunnel entrances on this side of the harbor. There's a set in East Boston.
Yeah.
The blue line, like you need to sort of have an entire city project for there really to be sort of protection, not just of the places, but of the systems that make the city run.
So do you anticipate, I know you're setting up these community meetings sort of independently. Is there a value at some point in some way for the 5 of us to get together to talk about our common interests and the intersection
Great question.
points, both politically and technologically?
Happy to get feedback about how best to do that. Last December, we had, as you may recall, 3 citywide meetings, and I think we expect to have at least 1 or 2 of those either later this year or early next. But we could think about sort of what does neighborhood coordination, or is there an opportunity for us to, as a city, help coordinate some of the neighborhood organizations who maybe focus on this?
Yeah.
Happy to think about that. Yeah.
Matthew has questions.
Hey, Matthew.
Hi, Chris. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for all the great work you do. And I'm wondering if you can give us a sense. Sorry, I wonder if you can give us some sense of the. Hold on. Sorry about that. You can give us some sense of the conversations you've had at different levels in City Hall and state level. Have any impacts from the director of OMB's recent announcement via tweet that from Russ Vaught about putting a pause to any climate resilience projects?
Great question. So that I think came out last Friday. I think last Friday. Since that time, we've had continued dialogue with our team within the Army Corps. We've seen no impact on the availability or work, and that has also been the message from the Army Corps team that we've been working with. So there's been no change since then. But I appreciate you raising that matter.
I talked to Brian Sweat yesterday, and he said, if you're a Cape Cod bridge, it's a different story.
That may be, I'm not, yeah, I don't think we've seen clarity about what it means, but certainly with our project, we have seen continued collaboration.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Yep.
Other questions for Chris? I mean, we really appreciate your, keeping us plugged in and the fact that we're working together with the city. I really feel like this is a good partnership. I hope you do too.
It has been, it certainly, and I do think, and I mean, Mark, you were on the walking tour. Like the court they are very interested in the specifics. They are very interested in understanding like, what does a building want? What are the subsurface conditions? These are the things that matter a lot to them as they think about building something which is effective and feasible and desirable. And so that effective piece and feasible piece is what they're very much focused on. So if I do encourage folks either to come on the 10th, connect with me, which you can do at chris.osgood@boston.gov or through Mark or Suzanne, or sign up for any of the office hours with the Army Corps. The feedback is very, very valuable to them and will help shape the plan going forward. Suzanne.
Another question. One is, I think this is great, all the work that's being done. What about an unexpected storm,
Yeah.
like a Hurricane Sandy hits us next year or
Yeah.
the year after?
So this is why sort of there are these of this layered strategy. The core really is about addressing long-term risk for the set of long-term projects. Our Office of Emergency Management is very focused on, Suzanne, exactly what you raised. And if it is useful at any point, happy to have OEM come do a presentation about things which are really about the preparedness for any near-term storms. As some of you may know, we ran our second annual Deployables Day. Some of you were involved in this and out there at the fair, including, I think, Tom Reedy, who I see online as well. It was part of OEM's overall communication of how we can be prepared as a city as some of these longer term capital projects go forward. And in between those two, sort of the work by our Office of Emergency Management and the collaboration with the Army Corps of Engineers is the set of projects that the mayor's investing in to make sure that we're reducing flood risk now. And that and projects like Long Wharf, there are other projects along our coastline that we are trying to find the right way to move from design actually into shovels in the ground shortly.
Joanne, you have a question?
I do, thank you. Hi, Chris. I'm Joanne Hayes Rhines. I lived at Harbor Towers for almost 30 years, and I'm president of the Friends of Christopher Columbus Park. So all my life living here it revolves about all this resiliency work with the park and Harbor Towers. I wonder if the Corps was introduced to the amazing job we're doing at Harbor Towers, protecting our two buildings. Not the grass, not the pool, nothing else, but the buildings and the residents.
So on the 10th, we did spend a fair amount of time literally outside of the Harbor Towers, looking and talking a little bit about that project, but happy to follow up and connect some dots to make sure that they have all the details around that. And I would also note that there is some funding, as you know, to sort of move Christopher Columbus Park a little bit forward, and useful for us to connect as well to make sure that we're thinking about how to invest in that park to strengthen its resilience for both the Wharf District and the North End. But I can follow up with you on the Harbor Towers piece.
That would be wonderful, because we're about halfway through our project and it is all funded by the owners. So and we had an assessment, and I'll say we barely had a peep because people have seen the water come up on the Harbor Walk. And also I am in course connection with the Parks Department. So I know they're awaiting a federal grant that they've been waiting for a while.
For a long time.
For a long time.
We do have motion on that, but I do not believe the Parks Department has the funding in hand. Sarah, thank you for adding my email in the chat. Please do feel free to reach out to me there, and Joanne, I can follow up as well.
Yeah, no, they don't have it yet, but thank you very much for everything you're doing and all these meetings you're heading to bring people together.
Of course.
Chris, I would also just mention, and I would say this to everybody else too, we are cautiously optimistic as of today, I think, that the earmarks that the governor had previously had on pause may have moved forward, which would include some funding for us. The study, the economic impact study that we just finished with Europe that I will be sending to you, was an example of the way that we used some of our funding to get the message out. and to continue to move our efforts forward. If there are specific things that we, or I know you don't have an arrangement with Eric at the moment, but we will have them available to us. If there are
appreciate
things that you, whether it's grant writing or technical research or whatever it is, we will be putting together our plan for what we hope will be another earmark in the next couple weeks.
Perfect. I really appreciate that.
And so, and we want to be a resource to the city also. So, and I would say that to everybody else online. We will be having a meeting to talk about what the next phase of our effort has been. The last year was really about communication to a broader community, to our legislators. And we created the video, which hopefully you've all seen, which we will continue to use. So we're in the advocacy phase. And if there are other things that we need going forward in that vein, we should measure them.
Well, thank you so much. I know, so it's Ann, please. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Keep going.
One of the, Joanne brought up Harbor Towers
Yes.
and the incredible job they're doing.
Mhm.
The Wharf District has a lot of buildings in beyond the Greenway.
Yep.
That may not, the buildings themselves, like I'm thinking of Greenway Place, where they have not looked at their buildings in terms of being protected
Mhm.
in the short term.
Yep.
Are there things that, I don't know if anybody in the district is interested in this, but it would seem to me, having watched the water go up State Street in 2018. And I know there's work that's been done on the Greenway to protect the flooding. If there isn't something that the city offers, so that we in the Wharf District could offer our residents and business buildings to make them aware of the dangers of the water and how they could potentially protect themselves, whether it's the deplorables,
Mhm.
like they did over at the
At- 225
Aquarium.
States. Yes, or the aquarium, just out. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, literally, or the Greenway T.
Mhm.
If you go to the Greenway T now, there's the
The boils are up. Mhm.
all around
They
except
put
for
it, they put it in front of the ferry ticket office at Rose Wharf too this year.
yeah, and all they would have to do is slide in panels at the very entrance here. Now, it seems to me this might be something that our community would be interested in learning about.
I'm very happy to sort of follow up with that, I think, on that, and to think about who the right group of folks are. And to Joanne's point earlier, a lot of that knowledge is actually here, there's great leadership, not just collectively by the Wharf District, but individually by the buildings and all of you in the Wharf District. So it may be learning from other Wharf District members about the work that happened at Harbor Towers, the work that happened at 225 State or other places that have already taken some early steps, if that would be helpful, and happy to follow up with you and think about how to organize
It
this.
would be really helpful. The economics are so different, however, in a building that has 10 units
As
and two
opposed to-
buildings that have thousands.
624.
Yeah.
Okay. That has always been where the thought process hits a brick wall.
Sure.
And, you know, you have 10 people and you have 10 different sets of priorities, so resources that are available to support the
That.
small buildings.
Yep.
And it's interesting because now we have some development going on at the granary, the grain exchange, now developing a residential building.
Right,
Are they building that into their plan? Like, if you're starting from, I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I think you're actually required to by the city at this point. Right?
For large buildings, they're with
But
retrofits, but.
it's also not gonna be a large development.
Yeah.
So,
Well, one of the things that I'm happy about is I found out yesterday that the Green Ribbon Commission got the funding that they had been waiting for them to be able to do a $500,000 study on potential financial sources for kind of resilience that we're looking at, probably large scale and small scale. So I will certainly bring up to them the fact that it's, there are buildings like yours that are faced with a different set of challenges than some others, and I think they're going about it in a different way than they were originally, but still, we're going to be engaged in it.
Absolutely.
Other questions for Chris?
My contact information is in the chat for those who are online, and again, please do feel free to reach out, and I would be remiss not to note that a lot of the good work which we are moving forward right now is a credit to Chris Cook, who is on the screen, who helped lead a lot of our resilience related work. So there's been a succession of work and a lot of collaboration with the Wharf District, so look forward to doing even more in the years ahead.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course. Take care. Thanks.
Anna, do you want to update us on what the aquarium is up? Here, let's pass this down to them. And you probably have to speak up so that people.
Hi everyone, oh, it's not loaded yet, I'll give it a second. Hi everyone, my name is Fauna Scott, I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at the New England Aquarium. I've been there for almost a year, and I'm here today to share some general information about the aquarium and some upcoming events and programs that we have going on in the next few weeks. The Wi-Fi is a bit slow. What's the best Wi-Fi to be connected to?
Sorry?
The best Wi-Fi to be connected to?
Should be 30 RW conference room.
And what's the password for that?
It was a sign, I don't know what happened.
Let's see, how will I know? Let's see.
Was it?
Rose 123 exclamation, capital ROWES. 123 exclamation point.
Yeah.
Well, I just did that because I feel like when you see it, it's faster than.
Yeah.
Sorry, reconnecting to the Zoom. Sorry about that.
Press switch gears for a moment while you're disconnecting.
It's about to.
Okay.
Sorry. But
There.
So as many of you know, the aquarium first opened in 1969, and we are a nonprofit research and conservation organization has protected and cared for our ocean and marine life for over 50 years. And we aim to inspire people to form deeper connections with the ocean and take action to protect it in whatever way that we can. And we aim to promote discovery and instill a sense of wonder about ocean animals and ocean habitats. We're located on Central Wharf. Not too far from here at all. We have the main building, the Front Plaza, and Simon's Theater that are on Central Wharf. And then we also have a animal care center in Quincy, Massachusetts that less people know about because it's not open to the public. And this is where we have our sea turtle rescue and rehab center. So we have an amazing rescue team that will rescue sea turtles that get trapped in Cape Cod Bay. So in the summertime, sea turtles will spend time in Cape Cod Bay, and then once fall approaches and the water gets colder, the sea turtles will migrate south to warmer waters. Because of the geography of Cape Cod and the Hook, sea turtles will try to migrate south and they get trapped by that geographic barrier. And then they're stuck there, the waters continue to get really cold, and they experience cold stunning, which is basically hypothermia in sea turtles. And then they'll wash up along the shores of Cape Cod. And then our amazing team at the aquarium, along with some other organizations, will go out and rescue those turtles, take them back to the center in Quincy, and then nurse them back to health and release them into the wild. So it's a very cool facility, and that team works really hard. This past year, they rescued around 530 sea turtles in the season, and that number just keeps going up and up. So right now, it's like the start of the sea turtle rescue season. So in our care at the aquarium, we take care of over 10,000 animals, and in this photo is our giant ocean tank. That's kind of the main centerpiece of the aquarium. A fun fact about the tank is that the tank is so big that it was built first before the rest of the building. Yeah, and then Myrtle the sea turtle is like the well-known person or animal that's in the giant ocean tank. She's between 70 to 90 years old. And she got to the aquarium in 1971, so she's been there since the very start of the aquarium pretty much. So our current hours for the fall and winter time are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then on weekends we're open 9 to 6. And then almost every day we have films playing at our Simon's Theater from 10 to 4 at the start of every hour. And if you go online, you can see what films are specifically playing when, and each film is around 45 minutes long. There's some upcoming programming and events that we have coming up. This week is Mass STEM Week, and that's a statewide event that's an effort to inspire and inspire students to see themselves in different STEM opportunities, and STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. So this week at the aquarium, our team will be in our exploration station at noon, working with students to give them a hands-on look at what being a sea turtle doctor looks like. So the students will have the opportunity to take care of like a sick sea turtle and experience what goes on at our sea turtle hospital in Quincy. We also have some Halloween themed programming at the aquarium this weekend. So on October 25th and October 26th, during our regular aquarium hours, 9 to 6, you can take part in fall themed adventure scavenger hunts. You can see animal skulls and bones up close with our educators. You'll be able to hunt for sunken pumpkins in some of our exhibits. There'll be raffles to enter for prizes, and then there'll also be some Halloween treats for sale at our cafe. Then the aquarium has our little lecture series. So since 1972, the series has featured different scientists, environmental writers, photographers, people from many different backgrounds. And this series is to inspire people to think and act differently about what it means to protect and conserve our oceans. And so this is a lecture series that's free and open to the public, and it's in through the generosity of the Lowell Institute that we're able to do this. So we have a lecture this Thursday that's featuring Dr. Kerry Emanuel. He's a prominent meteorologist and climate scientist, and he'll be talking about the history and the science of hurricanes. So that's this Thursday, October 23rd, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. in our Simon's Theater. The doors will open at 5:30, and there'll be snacks and beverages for sale in the lobby. And the link at the bottom of the screen, that's where you can go online to register if you'd like to attend the lecture. All the lectures are free to the public. You have to register in advance to make sure that we have capacity for everyone that'd like to attend. And then our next lecture will be on November 6th, and this will be featuring best-selling author Sara McCammond. She'll be sharing a bit about her new book, Secrets of the Octopus, some of her personal insights about studying and working with octopus. So that's from 6:30 to 7:30, and our doors will open at 6 p.m. for that. And again, you can go online to register for those lectures. If you'd like to follow us on social media, there's our Facebook and Instagram, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the aquarium.
Great, thank you, Paone. I understand you guys just got a big philanthropic grant.
Yes, we did.
Can you tell us about that?
I don't know much about it because it's in our Blue Balance lab. That's not really my scope of work. But I know our team is very excited to have that support, especially in this times where funding is definitely difficult for certain organizations.
You should have a brand new laptop.
Yeah.
Mark, I can share a little. This is Luz online.
Hey, Luz, yeah, great,
Hi.
please.
Good job, Fauna. Yes, we did receive a $9 million gift from a really generous couple who the husband actually used to work as a teen at the aquarium, and now as adults they'd love to give back. So that went towards our Balance Blue Lab, which is focused on working with the private sector and making sure that there's a responsible use of the ocean. And so you can think offshore wind, climate tech, all things that would go under that bucket. So right now we're working through how we're going to spend that, and we have some exciting ideas. So more to come.
Marvelous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Questions for Luz or Connor? That was very useful. Florie, I think you're on the line. Have you managed to incorporate all of these events that that the aquarium has planned into our live work? What is it called?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. All these events that have been mentioned are already in the calendar.
Okay, so there's a calendar on the Wharf District Council.org, and it's called
Eat, Drink, and Play.
Eat, Drink, and Play. Oh, and there's also a calendar of events, and the calendar of events has everything. Suzanne and I were talking earlier today about trying to remember whether or not the artisan market was going to be this weekend also on the Greenway. And we just clicked on our calendar of events and there it popped up. And so we knew that all the things that are happening on the Greenway and in the aquarium, you ever have guests in town or you got a few moments, you want to know some fun to do, it's an easy thing to do. So, thank you again, Fern.
Somebody has a question.
No, that's
It's you.
thumbs up. So Peter D'Agostino is gonna from Tenex Strategies is gonna talk about the Cure Leaf dispensary at 21 Mill Street. Is that right?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Yes, that is what I'm here to discuss. Are you able to hear me okay? Okay, great. So thank you for making the time to invite us to your meeting. And I apologize, we didn't have this meeting for earlier. As you may know, 21 Milk Street sits in the downtown bid district. We've worked extensively with the bid over the last 2 years in the siting of this particular location. Just by way of background, 21 Milk Street was the first medical marijuana dispensary opened in downtown Boston. It was opened then as Patriot Care. It then transitioned to an adult use, so it had both medical and adult use at 21 Milk Street. At some point, it became the Cannabis, which was a multi-state operator operating that location at 21 Milk Street. That business closed in December of 24, so it's been almost 10 months now. Cure Leaf took over the location from that business in just around the same time that it closed, and subsequently had applied to the Boston Cannabis Board. One thing in speaking with Suzanne that I wanted to clarify with the council was that this is not an additional license in downtown. So there were 6 licenses in downtown Boston collectively. This was one of them. I think the agenda item through the Boston Cannabis Board is a little bit confusing because they do not have a transfer process in the city. You have to do a new application. So it's my understanding that the Wharf District Council interpreted it to be an additional 7th license. This is simply replacing the prior operator with a new operator, but at the same location. So that I think and I hope is slightly different than what the council had interpreted previously. Cure Leaf also intends to operate medical at the facility as medical marijuana for medical patients as it was previously. This currently is the only or would be the only medical dispensary within a reasonable distance of the downtown. So medical patients right now do not have access to medical cannabis in the downtown anywhere. So I wanted to just come before the council because we do know that you had opposed this location at a prior hearing before the Boston Cannabis Board. And again, two key points was my understanding was that there was an interpretation that this was an additional 7th license. So I wanted to clarify that. Also, again, as we're not in the Wharf District Council, I just wanted to apologize for not coming sooner. We've been working with the bid as we sit in their district. But I wanted to answer any questions the council may have and see if there's something we can do to work with you in some way as to not continue to oppose it. I'm not sure that you would necessarily support it given this outside your district, but nonetheless, I wanted to open the conversation to that.
Thank you, Pete. What we will do is, after the end of this meeting, we'll go into executive session for the members to be able to discuss how we want to respond to that. But in the meantime, are there people who have questions of Pete Lexino about this application to transfer the license to Security?
No. So can I just clarify? My name is Tito Jackson. I run Apex Noir up the street. It would be a new license in the city of Boston because as noted, they're going to be required to get their another host community agreement. If they were purchasing, that transfer process requires a new license. I guess my only question would be, what do you think your effect would be on the 5 minority-owned businesses that are currently licensed and in the half-a-mile area? So in the city of Boston, as you know, there is a buffer zone. Actually, I was just talking. I asked Frank Baker this question. I should ask him in front of folks. There is a buffer zone of half a mile. And the objective of the buffer zone was because we took a trip out to Denver, and there is a green mile there.
There's a
green mile, kind of like the Bourbon Street of cannabis, and which is problematic. And the reason why we voted on the city council to have a buffer zone is so there would be space in between rather than having a glut all in one area. And so this is the highest concentration of cannabis dispensaries in the city of Boston. You already have 5 that are actually permitted in the area. That there's one that's not open, and then in addition you do have Ascend, so that's 6. And so I guess I wanted to ask you that question.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and always great to see you. I think it's an interesting and actually very pointed question. So there is a half-mile buffer of which 21 Milk Street was the first store. So every store of the other 5 that Mr. Jackson just referenced, every single one of them had to go before the Boston Cannabis Board and before the Zoning Board of Appeals and convince both of those city entities that there would be no impact by operating within a half mile of 21 Milk Street. There was no store open prior to 21 Milk Street. So Mr. Jackson's store, along with the other 4 stores that opened after 21 Milk Street, both publicly on the record, has testified repeatedly that there is no impact operating within a half mile of 21 Milk Street. All of those stores opened. My understanding is many of those stores are doing very, very well. And I don't think there will be an impact. And I would point to all of those business owners who came before this council, before the Boston Cannabis Board, before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and before the bid, and made very strong arguments as to why they were allowed to infringe on the half-mile buffer of Milk Street in order to open their business. So I think it would be very challenging at this point for those same operators who spent a considerable effort convincing everybody that it was okay, that now it's not okay. I would also argue that in fact, it is okay. All the stores are doing well. They're all operating in different parts of the downtown. Apex Noir is over, obviously, in Faneuil Hall. There's other stores over in that area. The closest store is on Devonshire. That store opened after 21 Milk Street. That store has stayed open, still doing well. And it opened after 21 Milk Street. So we aren't speculating anymore. So at first there's 21 Milk Street. It had a half-mile buffer. 4 other stores infringed on that buffer. They made the argument that it was going to be okay. And they were right. It was okay. All 5 stores operated within the half-mile buffer because they really do sit largely in different operational areas. I don't know about you, but our office is on 100 Franklin Street. I would almost never go to Faneuil Hall unless we had people in town visiting. I have no reason to go over there. So I think really Milk Street and Devonshire are the only two that would necessarily impact each other, and they coexisted for a very extended period of time. So I think that is no longer speculation. We know that these stores operated well for many, many years together. All of the owners of those businesses made that argument, and it was proven to be true. So I don't think there will be an impact, certainly not on Faneuil Hall stores, including Mr. Jackson's and others. But I think that the proof is in the fact that this has gone on for many, many years. This is a prior location. And just to clarify, Mr. Jackson had said this is not, that this is a new license. This, to be clear, this is a new license. It is not an additional license. There were 6 before, and there will be 6 after if this is approved. That's an important distinction for me. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I'm happy to take any other questions.
Mr. D'Agostino, the one piece that we did, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, is that the cannabis went out of business.
Yeah, if I could interject, this is Morgan Carlone from Primitiv. And our store is actually 0.4 miles from the cannabis. And to the point of years ago, this was argued to be there. The amount of price compression that we've had in those years since then, and the fact that this previous store already did go out of business, I mean, I just find it hard to believe that it would not negatively impact us at this point, especially given Curaleaf's ability, being a cultivation as well, to continue to have an impact on the price compression that we're already feeling. So, I mean, I think, yes, years ago, as we were all coming online, sure, that made sense, but a lot's changed in the space since then. And I just want to point out that, you know, we're not dealing with what we were dealing with a few years ago when these stores opened up. So as a minority owned business, it definitely is going to have a different impact on us.
I'd like to ask a point of clarification, if I could, please. When you, Mr. D'Agostino, you were talking about the new businesses arguing that it was okay within the half a mile. Is it true or not that at that time it was medical use only?
That was my.
No, it was medical initially, and then it was medical and adult use. So that the half-mile buffer came into existence as part of the creation of the adult use program in downtown. So those things happened through the city council at the same time. So when the half-mile buffer came into effect, it was as part of the adult use regulatory change that the city made.
So the adult use, so the initial cannabis legislation allowed for you to get cannabis with a medical card. So you had to go to a physician and get a card.
Right.
So the reason why they did that is because in the state of Massachusetts, people love nonprofits. So it's easier to get it through. These are nonprofit organizations. So that happened early. I believe that store opened in 2014. I actually testified for that store. The initial it was Patriot Care at the time. They said that they told that they would never convert into recreational. That's what they told everybody, and they accepted a lot of Rosemary. But there were a lot of things that they had to do there, timing and the like, no pre-rolls and the like. But then they came back and I was at the same meeting where they actually put forward their proposal for recreational, which is 21 plus. So all you have to do is be 21, show an ID.
So what is adult use?
It's the same thing.
Oh.
So they're interchangeable. Adult use and recreational. It's technically adult use.
Oh.
You know, whether you're doing it for health or fun, we can't tell you what you do. Peter. On that.
Minor use, right?
Yes, exactly. You just one. Well, no, the other thing is though, I'm sorry, medical is 18. Peter, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
You can be under 18 with a review of 2 doctors identifying it as medically necessary. It requires the review of 2 medical professionals along with the parents. So you can technically be under 18, but it's a very high bar. Just because you asked the question. I do want to speak quickly to, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the price compression and the cannabis closing. We did a very extensive analysis of downtown Boston, and the reality of it is, as more stores open, more sales come. These stores are doing largely, not maybe everyone, but largely are doing better year over year, even in spite of the price compression. And the reason that that's true, and the reason that Massachusetts continues to see higher and higher annual sales year over year, including in Boston and in downtown, is because as price compresses and we get closer to the illicit market price, there is no longer incentive for people to buy it illegally. They can now go into a legal store because, quite frankly, it's the same price and maybe sometimes cheaper than the illegal market, because the illegal market is very difficult to get cannabis. It's more expensive in some cases. And so as we see price compression, and the data shows this, both that the CCC did an analysis, the city of Boston did this analysis, as we see price compression, that is a true thing. However, we are exploding in customer count because more people can now purchase from the legal market, which is a regulated, taxed, and tested market, which is exactly the intent of legalization of marijuana in Massachusetts and other states. So price compression is real. Mr. Jackson was at a symposium about 2 weeks ago. He had announced publicly his store's up about 50%. Stores are doing well in spite of the price compression because of the expanding customer base. So I think price compression, people use that as a term. It doesn't tell the full story. It actually doesn't even address why the market year over year has exploded in Massachusetts. There's a lot of data out there. We're happy to provide that if you'd like. It's all publicly available. It's all published by the CCC and by the city. As to the cannabis closing, I think this is an important point. They were a multi-state operator, just like Curaleaf. Their strategic decision to open close stores is based on their national portfolio and not on the individual performance of an individual store. We met with the cannabis prior to them leaving, when we had some interest in taking over the site, and the district manager that we spoke to thought it was a very good store, and she was surprised they were closing. So that was a national decision, like many national chains make, that aren't necessarily based on the individual performance of a store. So I don't know how much consideration or weight should be given to that decision. So I'm happy to provide any data as to the point I just made around price compression to the extent the council would like it. I'm happy to provide that.
Could you tell us a little about Curaleaf as a company? Is that the name of the company?
Yeah, Curaleaf is a multi-state operator. They operate in many states, I think maybe 19 states. They do retail, cultivation, and manufacturing in all of those states. So, they're a large company, as was the cannabis. So we think this is very, it's a very good comparison. We had a large multi-state operator operating there before. There would be another large multi-state operator operating there now. And again, when you look at the analysis of sales in downtown and across the state, it just doesn't play out that the price compression is reducing or impacting sales negatively. There may be one or two stores that aren't doing as well as they used to do, but there could be a lot of reasons for that.
Other questions for Ms. Bexton?
Can you ask for me?
Yes, please.
Ask him if I understood this is the only of the 6 that has medical marijuana.
The question is this the only of the 6 that provides medical marijuana?
It would be, yes. There's no other access to medical marijuana in downtown Boston.
And so the 6 are in downtown Boston. You said Boston, but there are lots and lots in Boston, right?
Yes, yeah, that's just downtown. The 6, when we talk about the 6, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Jackson, but I think what we're talking about is the half mile within 21 Milk Street. I think that's what we're referencing.
So was there consideration by Curaleaf to reopen as a medical facility?
I don't know if I fully heard the question. Was there consideration about them opening as medical?
Yes, it's just medical.
Oh, just as medical. The medical marijuana is not financially viable as its own business. I'm not aware of any store in Massachusetts that operates medical only because there's not enough patients to support the business in any one area. So they're all what's called in Massachusetts is or in the city of Boston, excuse me, is co-located. That's what's called. And this application is for a co-located store, so it would serve both medical patients and adult use.
So in the state, there are some that are singly located, not co-located, and medical only, just to be clear. And again, being in Primitiv, like that puts us, we're 0.4 miles from you. So you've got the Devonshire location within that 0.5 and us within the 0.4.
Yeah, and again, Mr. Chairman, through you, the point here is the conditions under which these other stores opened, the other 5 stores, would only be restored. We are not worsening the condition. There was a multi-state operator operating medical and adult use at the time that they advocated to open their business within the half mile of that business. I think that's a very important distinction here. They all argued that it was okay. It is not reasonable to now argue because the store closed that it's not okay. That's not a reasonable position to take. And further, the analysis that the city of Boston has done and the Cannabis Control Commission has done, all by outside parties, does not support oversaturation in Boston or in the state under any metric. And so it's just the data just doesn't support the argument. And in fact, the arguments that were made when those applicants came before both the Boston Cannabis Board and the ZBA have held true. The stores all operated cohesively. And really the only store, and I understand Primitiv's 0.4 miles away, but that's very close to the half-mile buffer. The only store that truly would be a competitor is the Devonshire location. And I will note that they did not raise opposition at the hearing.
So to date, 167 licenses, approximately 10% of the cannabis licenses issued in the state of Massachusetts have been surrendered back to the CCC, including 19 social equity businesses, 22 disadvantaged businesses, and 8 of them were minority owned, and 17 medical dispensaries. So just to note, that is the state of play, and about 40 businesses in the past year or so have gone out.
I think those are all really good facts. However, they're not related to the discussion about oversaturation in downtown, and the data that has been published both by the city and the CCC doesn't support oversaturation. Those licenses could have been surrendered for about 1 million reasons. Likely, the 2 most likely are they couldn't continue to control the real estate, or they couldn't get the funding to operate the project. So I think that's too broad of a picture and isn't supported by the saturation studies that have been done by the city and state. I mean, at some point we have to look at what the data shows, and that data continues to support the 6 stores that have always operated within a half mile of each other in downtown. The data continues to support that. And when we did an independent analysis of the last saturation study done by the city, in fact, the data that was analyzed on the last saturation study, when there was a store going in Faneuil Hall by Mr. Jackson, which the board approved, the numbers have only gotten better. The gap between what they found to be a financially viable store and where stores are operating now has only grown larger. These are important things. I'm happy, I know you're going to have an executive session about it. If there's some follow-up that we can do to provide the council with some data around downtown and for your consideration, we're happy to do it. The main reason for meeting with you again tonight was to answer any questions you had and introduce ourselves. And if there's a way we can be part of the Wharf District Council, I understand it is outside our district, but we're happy to do that as well.
Can I ask one more question? I'll call myself the uninitiated here, but is this a franchise or is this going to be owned and operated by Curaleaf?
Owned and operated by Curaleaf. They don't have franchises that I'm aware of, but I couldn't swear to that, so I don't want to tell you that. But I don't believe any are franchised. This one will certainly not be franchised. I do know that.
Any other questions? Great. Thank you very much. We'll certainly get back to you either with our thoughts or with questions.
Outstanding. Yep. Suzanne has my contact information. Thank you all very much for the time tonight and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Who's doing these updates about the Children's Museum?
I didn't know of anybody from.
I see Amy on there. Amy, do you have anything that you want to say about what's a nightmare at the museum? Ready for us?
Only that we have our grown-ups museum next week for the Halloween, and everyone's invited if you're over 21.
Well, adult use.
It's an adult Halloween experience.
Yeah. I don't know if you have the, adult. I sent you this.
Yeah, okay.
So that everybody can see that. I only made one copy, I'm happy to pass it around.
Let's see, this is
That's what's October 30th, 7 to 11?
Grown up, but is it 15th to
There's
November?
there's two things at the Children's Museum. One is the Nightmare of the Museum, which is for adults, October 30th, 7 to 11 p.m.
And bring your dancing shoes.
Okay.
So that should be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Register right ahead of time, or just show up.
Tickets can be online at our website.
Yeah, you can purchase tickets, it's on their website, purchase tickets. The cover is, you have to have a valid ID, and $30 a person, and you can see their flyer.
What's the date again?
30. October 30. It's not right here.
And, okay, great. Florie, if you could make sure that's on there too, please. Okay.
And one other thing,
Yes.
before we leave the Children's Museum, there is something for children, which is important. And that is, where did I put the children's stuff? Oh, it's, the children celebrate Halloween, October 15th to November 2nd. So that's for children.
Awesome.
So it would be during regular Children's Museum hours. Go on their website, there'll be more information.
How do we send events to you?
What do you want to send to me?
Event, we're doing a Halloween party.
Yes, send, whatever
We're
you.
doing, on, October 31st, Apex Rooftop Bar and Lounge is doing a Michael Jackson versus Prince party.
Michael Jackson. Is he showing up?
If he does, we all have a problem. If both of them show up, that's gonna be a little problem. And we won't have to worry about the water or any of that stuff. We're already underwater if that happens. And then Saturday night, we're having our how on the rooftop. So we'll have DJs.
Chris, do you want to, let's see.
Talk about the Greenway Community Meeting.
If you don't mind, if I could take 2 minutes, Mark, that would be great. Is it okay to share my screen?
Is this what you want to see?
Oh yeah, so I don't even need to share my screen. That's fantastic, Mark. Thank you very much. So I'm well aware that all any of us do is ask each other to go to meetings. I am keenly aware of that. But I will say this one is going to be very, very pleasant. So we are going through a strategic planning process at the Rose Kennedy Greenway. We haven't done one since prior to COVID. Suzanne, obviously, as your representative on our board, is very deeply involved in that. We're proud of that work that's happening. We are calling this a community meeting because the Rose Kennedy Greenway hasn't had a full-fledged community meeting with our broader community. You know, we typically go to community meetings, but this will be very fun, very interactive. There'll be some interactive stations, light food, you know, giveaways. You could get in and out in 20 minutes. So, you know, if you want to get out of work early and use this as an excuse, hit this on the way home, whatever it is. But you can come in, breeze through the stations on November 5th at Atlantic Wharf. Incredibly grateful. Suzanne has the digital copy for distribution, and you don't have to spend the entire time there at all. You can get in and out We'll have a lot of staff members there to ask you questions about what you'd like to see more of in your park. We really want to be responsive to the neighborhood, and there's no neighborhood that is more deeply intrinsically involved with the Greenway than the Wharf. So we'd love to have a great showing from you. If you can't make it, the flyer, the digital flyer has a QR code to our survey, but we'd really love to see you all in person. Thank you, Mark.
Is Atlantic Wharf the lobby of the?
It's their new community room.
What is
It's the
it?
mini room.
This one.
No.
Just over by the restaurant, behind the
Over
restaurant.
by Smith and Lawrence.
Yeah, the front side of the Smith and Walensky's building.
Okay, yeah, right. I might suggest you put the address on there because that, I don't think that everybody knows what Atlantic Wharf is.
100%. It's a good flag. Thank you.
Cool, great. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, everybody.
Anything else, Craig?
No, I think we're good, Suzanne. I can send around the information. We'll have time before February. Just to let folks know, we're very excited. We're going to be bringing a Ferris wheel, a carnival-style Ferris wheel to our carousel site, right across from Joanne's Park, which she always gets upset when I call it that, but Christopher Columbus Park. As folks know, our carousel winds down for the winter. We're bringing in a Ferris wheel there. It's a lot of fun with engineering and Mass DOT over the tunnel, but it should be pretty exciting. It's just temporary. It's not a permanent installation. It'll be out there for the month of February. And as I have more details, I'll share that with the council, but very excited.
When are you expecting to get your bids in or make a decision on who's going to be in the beer garden side of it?
No, that's a great question, Mark. The bids are due mid next month, and it could take us 2 to 3 weeks after that. You know, a lot of it is sometimes there's something that needs to be clarified in someone's bid. So we'd hope to have resolution by the end of November.
Okay, look forward to hearing that. Joanne, do you want to talk about your part?
Sure.
The pressure is on. Yes, my park. Well, my grandchildren call it Grammy's Park, so I guess there's something to that after 15 years as president. So this is a little bit away. It's November 24th. Monday is our 23rd annual trellis lighting ceremony. The Parks Department does all the work, gets in the entertainment, provides, talks to the different, like Joe's American Bar and Grill will provide clam chowder. Marriott is cookies and hot chocolate, and then they bring in others, vendors that have food. There's music. It's just a fabulous night. And as most people who've been involved with this say, it is absolutely the coldest night of the year. So you have to bundle up. We don't plan it that way, but that's what it always seems to be. So it's at 5 o'clock, and Mayor Wu will be there, and she will surround herself with children. She'll invite them up to the stage, and because they have to throw the switch to turn the lights on, the 50,000 lights. Now, since I don't think there's any children in the room, the trick is here that the children moving the switch doesn't really do anything, because when we do a countdown from 10, 9, 8, and we all have to yell really loudly so the electrician in the shed can turn the lights on at the right time. So it's and we can only do this because of the support of our sponsors, the Boston Harbor Hotel, the Marriott, CL Properties, Joe's American Bar and Grill. The list of our corporate sponsors is delightfully long, and the list of our members is much longer. And every membership counts for all the things that we do. We just had this past weekend our fall festival, which was is always delightful. It's all just little children and their parents, and they came from as far as New Hampshire, right? Crazy. There were Belmont, Jamaica Plain, Roxbury. It was just so many people, and it's face painting, and it's a magician, and it's a storyteller, and it's games, and all the things that parents love to find to do to get the little ones out of the house, even on a pretty day. So thank you to everybody who's a member. We really, really appreciate it, and hope to see you on Monday November 24th at 5 o'clock, and bundle up.
Great, thank you, Joanne. Suzanne.
I just want to conclude by saying our next meeting, Wharf District Council meeting, is Tuesday, November 18th. And Kate Denis, who is the head of A Better City ABC, couldn't make it this evening. So she has promised that she will be our guest speaker for the November meeting. And I'm not sure if you're all familiar with A Better City, but it's focused in on the businesses that are in our area. And they belong to the Wharf District Council. And I think you'll find it enlightening, if not definitely interesting, if you're not familiar with them. So it'll be same time, same place. And right, Peggy, we're gonna have some beverages and food prior to the meeting. So get here around 4:30, and we will be serving refreshments. And last but not least, save the date for our holiday gathering. It's on December 16th. I'm not sure what number of holiday gathering this is, but it should be a festive, all the neighborhood is welcome gathering. We will be honoring Rich McGinnis, who's responsible for many of the things that go on in the Wharf District, including what's happening at Rose Wharf. He's in, what do they call it now?
Planning department.
Planning department. They used to call it something.
Yeah.
More exciting. And hopefully, don't put this down in the notes, but we want to also honor Stephen Johnston, who has been our general manager for the Boston Harbor Hotel, I think 12 years.
I think something like that.
Yeah, and he will be leaving us for.
Yeah, he's gonna be in Phoenix for his, with the same company, but his family.
Right, so we will miss Stephen terribly. But just have a little goodbye for him as well.
Fern, you have a question?
I just kind of, first off, this is Fern from Rust Roots. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to kind of give a heads up. I have been bugging the lovely people at Neighborhood Services about cigarette butt like ashtray things to put on stop signs. I promised Suzanne after last week that I was going to go down there this week. I will be there on Friday. So if anyone feels like they see too many cigarette butts on the street in our beautiful neighborhood, feel free to send an email or call 311 and ask them what they're doing about it. And then hopefully that will kind of help kind of move the goalpost of like getting some kind of progress on it. So yeah, just want to keep everyone in the loop on that.
Thank you. You wanna read them?
I did let Fern know that I spoke with somebody in public works and unfortunately, with my cigarette butts, disposals, they're leaving by 5 minutes. So I did let them know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe there's maybe we can take it up with the.
I'll find somebody to bug. I'm very persistent if you guys haven't picked that up yet. So I'll bug somebody down there.
Okay, anybody else, any comments, questions? We're running out of time. Going on, okay. Thank you all. I would ask, I'm gonna stop the recording. I would ask the members to stay for a quick conversation, and we'll see you all in November.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.